Hey there, everybody, and welcome to GameSpot Presents Now Playing. Today we're going to check out a really cool PlayStation 4 game called CounterSpy, courtesy of David and Grace. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
All right, so CounterSpy is a game that's been getting some pretty good buzz lately, but for anybody out there who's maybe not heard of it, anybody who's not really familiar with it, David, can you give us the kind of like basic gist of what the game does?
Yeah, so CounterSpy is a side-scrolling action stealth game set during the Cold War. It's very much our fictional take on the Cold War. We're trying to sort of take more of a playful, almost absurdist take on that particular moment in history. Very much inspired also by our love for like the cool espionage mythologies from the 50s, 60s, obviously Bond being one example, and collective love for side-scrolling games. I played a ton of side-scrolling action games as a kid growing up. I think you've seen a lot of really awesome side-scrolling games in recent years. Shadow Complex, Mark of the Ninja. So this is very much our contribution to that.
Now, if any of you guys are watching this on GameSpot's Twitch channel, feel free to join us in the chat room, and I'll take your questions live on the air. So, this is something I asked you a while ago when I actually saw the game before E3, but this type of setting, it's not something that you see very often in video games. It's so much more often the modern-day espionage setting, but you guys are going back in time to the Cold War. What is it about that era that appealed to you guys?
So, I wonder if part of that is because I remember the Cold War, and that's probably putting an age on me a little bit. But it's really, it's kind of hits on a lot of levels. Like, it's this really crazy, intense moment in history where you had these two sort of fundamentally opposed ideologies facing off against each other on the world stage, which kind of from a video game perspective sounds like a sort of a setting that you would create for a video game if it didn't already exist. And I think that basically we were really inspired by the stylizations of the fiction that was coming out at that era. Everyone kind of knows Bond and they are familiar with sort of the Sean Connery era Bond. But it was something that myself and Mark, who's the art director on the project, he'd worked at Pixar for a number of years, so he'd worked on The Incredibles,
Yeah,
for example.
You definitely get a little bit of that vibe here.
You can see that influence in it for sure, but it's also like The Incredibles was a film that was definitely riffing on that sort of golden age era of superheroes and touching on a lot of the visual stylizations and trappings of that era. So I think kind of on a lot of levels, like there was a lot of visually really awesome, interesting stuff going on during the 50s and 60s era that we wanted to take as a wrapper. The espionage thrillers of that time were sort of very fantastical and cool. And the setting itself, it feels like we're sort of distant enough from it now that you can be a little bit more playful. So it was kind of hitting on all those levels.
Okay. So the game being a 2D side-scroller, although it's kind of like the angle has changed up a little bit here, but generally speaking, it is presented from the 2D perspective, and that's perspective that you can do a lot of things with. You can do the real jumping-heavy platform-style games. You can do the real combat-heavy Metroidvania-style games. Yeah. How would you describe, the general sense of how this game plays?
Well, you can see here it has a little bit of elements of all. Like, it's not a heavy platformer, but there is platform navigation in the level. It's got pretty much core to the game is the action and stealth component. One of the things we wanted to do with the game was make it have a stealth game, but be fairly light on the stealth side. Like, not make a game that forces you to play stealthy. So if you want to, you can sort of run and gun. Grace has been playing with a silence pistol here, which is sort of the perfect stealth weapon. but she can switch to a machine gun. Cue Grace switch to a machine gun.
I like that synergy.
You know, so certainly there's areas where it gets more combat intensive. One of the things about the game system that we think is pretty cool is at the top of the screen, in the middle of the UI, you see there's a DEFCON level. That's what that number represents. That's the DEFCON level for the side that you're currently sort of raiding, which is the socialists. That's set at 4, right? So that's a number that increases based on your activity in the game. So if you get spotted by security cameras, if guys see you, they'll get on the radio and radio in. If you die while you're playing the level, you get a pretty fast restart, but that DEFCON also goes up. You need to keep an eye on that, and if it gets too high, if it gets above 1, then a countdown starts. That's the launch countdown, which is what you're trying to prevent. And at that point, you've got to run and get to the end of the level. And the way that system works means that generally, like, it rewards you from playing stealthily, because if people don't notice you, they're not getting on the radio. You can generally clear rooms more effectively if you're able to take a few guys out before everyone's noticed you. But at the same time, like, you can get into just a big firefight. So here, Grace is probably going to blow up a few explosives. Hint, hint.
You got this, Grace.
Big red box.
Have faith in you.
They were not quite in range. So now you can kind of see it's more kicked off, the action. There's like guys with RPGs. So she's died. Now you can see
the Cold War ended.
Well, she's still in it. The Cold War isn't over yet.
All right.
So the DEFCON's at 3 now, but she can kind of re-enter. It's designed to be fairly pick up and play, easy to get into. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Did I completely lose the thread of your question?
No. You're doing just fine. I'm a little bit more focused on how Grace is going to approach this one right now.
Right. Well, she's taken out a few guys. There's that little guy hanging off the platform there. Cool. Throw that grenade back. So he's on the radio now, so you can see that's causing the alert level to go up.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes in the game, you'll be playing, you'll be sort of picking your spots, taking guys out, and then somebody else gets on the radio. And at that point, you kind of need to adjust your strategy and make sure you either take him out if you can, or sometimes you'll actually have to go sort of path to where he is and take him out as well. Ooh, see if you can stealth kill this guy.
Oh, he saw me.
Saw you.
A little itchy trigger finger there.
So the thing you mentioned earlier that you're seeing as Grace is playing is there's the use of cover and camera perspective shift, right? Yeah. And so that's one of the things that we wanted to try and do something that was a bit different, that built on the sort of side-scrolling genre. And because we're building the game in full 3D, that's something that it's funny, so during development, it's one of these things where we were sort of experimenting, messing around. We already had this notion that you'll go into cover, you'll be hidden from enemies. But then it was one of those things where someone was like, oh, let me just adjust the camera. Oh, that's cool. That looks very cinematic. and so we were like, oh, cool. We have like a cinematic viewpoint that feels good. But then we started thinking about, well, wait, that could really alter the way the gameplay experience. Like if you're popping into cover, and now it's switched into this 3D view, you have more of a 3D pop and shoot, aim, take guys out.
Right, okay.
So we felt like that was a nice way to sort of mix it up. And we'd wanted to think about how to make a cover mechanic work in a side-scroller.
So I'm guessing by all that stuff that we unlocked just now and the schematics and everything, there is kind of a meta game that links the overall structure.
Yeah, so one of the things that's interesting is if you skip through this, Grace, and get to this screen, this is your mission select screen when you're playing the game. Here, let me just try.
Yeah, sure.
I'll just show this. So see how seamlessly we do that?
Oh, yeah.
Teamwork.
You guys are experienced veterans.
So, so this is how you choose what mission you want to take in the game, and you have two sides. You've got the socialists on one side, you've got the imperialists on the other side. And they each have their own separate DEFCON level. So the way that Grace played in the last level, that DEFCON has now climbed to 3. So you might want to switch to the imperialist side that has a lower DEFCON. The thing that's key to understand is that it's a game, the way you progress in the game is by collecting all the launch plans. Both sides are trying to build a rocket to launch a nuclear strike at the moon, blow up the moon. You're thinking that's crazy. You're trying to stop them.
Honestly, that sounds a little crazy.
It is
I would try to stop that too.
So let's try and stop it. So yeah, so basically let's pick the imperialist side. I will hand it back to you, Grace.
Yeah.
Grace, do you want to just give a quick primer here?
Yeah, so at the beginning of every mission, or before you head into a mission, you want to load up on all the gear and tech that'll help you get through it. You know, lives intact, DEFCON as low as possible, and so there's various weapons that we have. So I've unlocked quite a few already, as you can see. You've got to manage your ammo, so you'll have to buy ammo between missions, or find it in levels and ammo lockers. So you can see I've unlocked like a cool assault rifle. Haven't unlocked this one yet. Shotgun.
Atomizer shotgun sounds pretty effective.
Atomic.
It's all about the atomizer.
Let's see some other ones that I've bought here. I don't have enough money for these, unfortunately.
If you go back up one, the dart persuader is one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely a skill weapon. You have to master how to use it. But if you manage to shoot an enemy with that, you can kind of repurpose them and get them working on your side. Yeah, let's just jump into the level again.
Yeah, sure. Oh, one thing before we jump in. So formulas are really key. The levels are getting harder and harder the more you play.
Sure.
And so you might need a little help. So maybe you want some armor. You know, you'll take less damage. You might need some help with DEFCON. So this one is super useful. You know, instead of jumping into that level with a DEFCON of 3, maybe if I equip this, it'll be 4 instead, which basically buys me an extra life, in essence. So we've got all sorts of cool stuff. I like Silent Runner because I like running up behind guys and taking them out silently. That's super helpful if they don't hear your footsteps, because normally they hear you as you're running. But yeah, let's actually buy. Let's buy the Silent Runner.
Had a great comment in the chat room from Dijon Ketchup, who says, "The moon has been keeping the tides in check for too long."
Absolutely, I 100% agree with that.
The moon's got it coming.
Too many romantic evenings have occurred because of the full moon. Too many werewolves.
Yep.
There's also that Nazi moon base. If you played Wolfenstein.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
You can never be too careful.
The moon's had a bad year in video games.
Right.
Yeah.
So while Grace is playing, again, one of the things we wanted to really hit with this was make a game that was sort of, you know, fun, playful. It's not meant to be a realistic reenactment of the Cold War. Even the two sides, you know, we've got the imperialists and the socialists, and that's sort of riffing on the common insults that would often get passed around and thrown at each side.
Now, are the levels generally structured in a way where you're pretty much always moving left to right, or is there ever a sense of backtracking?
Right, good question. So one of the things, we've talked about this before, the levels are constructed using procedural elements.
Okay.
So every level is constructed where all the different rooms come together and knitted together in a different order. Generally, that means that you are moving from left to right. There are branching sort of side rooms where you can take an elevator and go down. There's not one in this level. So you can deviate from the path, but generally you always know that your ultimate objective is to get to the end of the level, which is on the right. That's where the launch computer is for the rockets. So if you do get that launch countdown start, you kind of have to stop thinking about exploration and stealth and just gun it and try and get to there before the countdown goes down.
Okay.
But again, like getting the launch plans is key. So as you're playing through the game, looking for the computers that have the launch plans. They're always going to be in different places. That's part of the procedural system. So even if a room might seem familiar, where things are placed, where the enemies are, what the enemies have, that's all changing. And the game also has exploration, so there are lots of little secret nooks and crannies to reward the player that looks around and wants to find stuff.
So our Twitch chat is engaged in a very exciting discussion about how much they hate the moon, but just a reminder, if you guys do have any questions, feel free to submit them.
Yeah, and you are trying to protect the moon as an agent of Counter. So Counter's definitely in the pro-moon camp.
Pro-moon, yeah. That's good. That's good.
Oh, do you want to show the cover switching, Grace?
Oh yeah. So you've got. One sec. Guy's throwing grenades at me right here. So this pesky guy's on the radio. I'll take him out. So we've got all sorts of cover objects sprinkled throughout the level that you can take cover behind. Obviously, spare you from gunfire. You can reload and shoot. One advanced pro tip is that you can hold down the direction that you want to roll into, and hold down circle to exit cover, and you can roll to and from cover.
Yeah,
you can do it while you're running.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a good pro tip for, typically when you enter a new room, a good strategy is look around, see if there's some cover, a good hiding point nearby.
Yeah.
Using the dive roll, holding that while you're running is a good way to quickly get into cover.
Yeah.
Buy
You can be
yourself
like,
time to scope out the environment, see where the bad guys are, and figure out your strategy.
So one of the common questions we're getting in the chat right now is why exactly both sides are trying to blow up the moon?
Why indeed? Well, so it's interesting. On the one hand, it's a kind of outlandish concept that's sort of inspired by, if you think of your typical Bond plot, right? There's always some megalomaniac that's like, you know, I'm going to create this laser beam that's going to melt the polar ice caps and destroy the world unless I get $1 million or whatever. Like, but it's some crazy plan that you have to stop. And we sort of flipped it in our game where the superpowers are the supervillains. And the other interesting nugget of information, and people can Google this right now, is that the US did develop a plan to launch a nuclear strike at the moon. It was a plan they developed in 1958. This was when the US was falling behind the Soviets in the space race.
Oh, right.
So the Soviets had just launched Sputnik. Yeah, that's orbiting around the Earth. They're like, oh, we have to catch up. What are we going to do? So it's like, hey guys, let's brainstorm solutions here.
Basically, if we can't get to the moon, nobody can.
Well, yeah, and I think that to give them some credit, their plan was not to destroy the moon.
Right, yeah.
They were like, if we could just leave a big dent.
Right.
And that would be a good way to show the Soviets, like, hey, you know, we've got some prowess. We're back on top. I
mean, both sides, in fairness, the space race was originated in the German scientists that went to both sides after World War II.
Yep, that is another
the German
factoid.
V2 rocket program.
Absolutely.
There's a little history lesson for you guys.
Right.
And we actually have all sorts of historical facts sprinkled into the loading screen, so it's not just gameplay tips as usual.
It's one of the things, and you know, so I remember as a kid, right, like growing up, some elements of the Cold War, and at that time, you're looking at these things that adults are talking about, and you think, oh, adults, they're supposed to be smart and, you know, mature, and what they say goes.
Yeah.
And so you start to get aware of like these leaders, political leaders on both sides, just kind of threatening, oh, if you do this, like we're going to launch thousands of nuclear missiles and destroy the world. And it's like that always seemed absolutely insane. And as a kid, sort of the absurdity of that. And I think that's probably something that has certainly stayed with me a little bit as I get older, is like, you shouldn't assume that there's any crazy fictional plot of a movie that's so outlandish that some government agency somewhere hasn't already thought about.
Yeah.
What was one of the other ones we found when we were looking up the acoustic kitty?
Oh, that was my
Grace?
favorite. So there was a plan to, I mean, there were various plans on both sides, right? So I got it. I think the CIA had a proposal to outfit cats with, you know, little transmitters and microphones so that they could go and eavesdrop near the Kremlin. And yeah, that didn't work because the prototype cat, as it were, supposedly got ran over when it went across the street.
Somehow turns out cats are not super cooperative.
Yeah, they don't follow direction very well.
If anybody owns a cat, you'd be like, how did they not have a conversation with the cat owner? All right, I think you're pretty clear.
Yep.
I think, what other? Poor cat.
Getting some good cat discussion in this chat room right now.
All right.
See how I did. Not great, admittedly. I died once.
Okay. So the cash you earn here is pretty key, particularly as it gets more difficult. You're going to need that cash to buy more weapons, ammo, the formulas, which are perks that are one-time use. So those are pretty key as well. I wonder if we can pick a different... which side do you want to do, Grace? Imperialist or socialist? What are your choices?
Well, I just played a Imperialist mission. Freudian slip. So, yeah, I probably want to steer clear of this for now. I could lower the DEFCON by dealing with officers, which are a unique type of NPC.
That's a cool feature, which I guess we'll describe that if we see it in a game. There's an officer in this level as well.
Oh yeah, let's do the socialist level. Kind of want to buy a new weapon. I died once, so I probably need to up my firepower somehow. Looks like I can only afford this guy though. That, and I could probably re-up on some ammo.
Yeah, the silence pistol is super useful.
Yeah.
You unlock that pretty early in the game, yeah, it's if you want to play stealthy, it's definitely your first plan of attack. It's not as powerful as the regular pistol, so if you do end up in a firefight, yeah, switch to a different weapon.
How much can you play non-lethally in the game, if that's kind of how you want to go about it? Is that like a viable tactic?
It would be super hard.
Yeah.
We could always say that the diplomatic pistols fires, tongue twister, fires tranquilizer darts, but that would be a lie. There is a tranquilizer weapon in the game that you could use. So that would be one option. Yeah, I think that the challenge, one of the challenges we've built around the game are like, how stealthy do I want to be, for example? So there are bonuses that you get from building up sort of stealth chains, and that's actually a really fun way to play. As I'm playing the game, you'll see these stealth chains, like, oh, take a guy out with a silencer, sneak up behind, take someone, and you'll get a multiplier. And it's fun to see how many you can get in a level. I think that Chris on our team has the record.
Okay.
And he has got 43 stealth kills in a row, which is insane. I would love to see if anyone can beat that once the game comes out.
I'm sure somebody will.
I'm sure they will. Well, if they do, they should take a screenshot and post it on Twitter at Dynamighty, because we would want to see that.
All right.
We want to shame Chris, basically. I suppose there's a few other details about the game that I could share.
Yeah.
So it's going to be coming out on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, and Vita. And it's going to be a cross-buy game, so even if you don't have your PlayStation 4 yet and you're planning to buy it, buy this game and you'll be able to play it on that platform as well as your others. It also has a cross-save functionality, So you can put the game down, switch
Oh,
to your
okay, that's
Vita
good.
when you're on the
That's good.
road. You can continue your progress. All your unlocks, so the blueprints, the formulas that you've collected in the game get shared across all the devices.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's super useful.
Is there any Vita-specific touch input stuff?
The only thing we've done there is the menus.
Okay.
The menu navigation also works with touch. We wanted to try and sort of harmonize as much as possible the experience.
Yeah.
Even the shoulder buttons on the console versions, we only use sort of aim and fire, which we tried not to max out all the buttons.
Right.
Again, wanting it to be accessible, people can pick up and play. So I see a question from Affinity about skills to upgrade. And so that is the formulas. The formulas are perks, and those are the sort of boosters that you upgrade as you play through the game. So playing a level, collecting formulas in the game, which you find in the safes, and there's a safe just up there. That's how you essentially acquire things that make your skills better.
Oh, poor
Yeah, I
guy.
dove out of cover just to make sure I didn't.
So one
hit
thing
the
we
blast
reminded
radius.
ourselves before we went into this game session is, like, we've been playing this for like probably thousands and thousands of hours by now, just testing it. So we were trying to remind ourselves, like, to not play in the most optimal way possible. So so we can show things like the countdown,
Right, yeah.
things like that. So I think now would be a good time, hint, hint, for Grace to take a few hits for the team.
Karate chop
My
that guy in the
pride,
neck.
my gamer cred.
I know. Well, and you know that explosive crate is so tantalizing there. I think that you kind of have to do the nasty on that.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Can you actually shoot that rocket while it's
So
you can,
a
oh,
total
well.
advanced move. Yeah, it's a good, like, sometimes a good strategy. You'll be in a big room with a guy firing the RPG, and so you can time shooting the RPGs to clear out a bunch of guys that are in front of him. DEFCON's at 2.
Yep. Running low on ammo.
Oh, if that camera spots you, that would make your DEFCON to go up. Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. Almost there.
Take the elevator.
Yeah. So this is an example of one of these branching paths that David had talked about. So some levels have elevators, some don't. It's all part of the procedural system. But they usually have some sort of juicy reward at the end. A little bit of combat to get there, though, so you have to balance the risk, right?
Oh, shotgun.
Oh,
Haven't used a shotgun yet, Grace.
I have.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
I think you used it at one point on a guy who was about 6 inches away from you.
Yeah, he kind of flew across the room, didn't he?
He had a real bad day after that.
These guys out. Target practice.
So the further you go in the game, as you're completing more levels, the difficulty does ramp up. New guards get introduced that are tougher with different weapons. We sort of jumped into a relative midpoint here, so you were already seeing guys with grenade launchers, rocket launchers, there's shotgun dudes. You'll get more elite guys later on as well.
Yeah, there were even the guards with helmets, so you can't just, headshot them, and you got to headshot them twice, actually. Would be the best way to take them out.
So you described this very early on into the stream, but for anybody who's just tuning in, we've got some questions in the chat. What exactly does the DEFCON level do when it gets higher?
So the DEFCON level is kind of if you think of it like officer, sorry. I'm just going to take a side note here. So here you can see there's an officer in the room. Officers are key to lowering the DEFCON when you're in a level. And the way you do that is they're kind of a cowardly bunch. You've got to take all the other enemies out, because he's going to be fighting you right now. But don't kill him, because once he's the last guy standing, he will surrender. Point your gun at him.
Wow, he
Yay.
surrendered immediately. There was no question in that guy's mind whether or not to surrender.
He wants to live to fight another day. In terms of the DEF CON, the increase is that you're closer to that launch countdown. Essentially, that is the difference. And I think the way that changes the way you play the game is the closer it is to that, you have to just start being a lot more careful, be stealthy, try not to get yourself into a situation where the launch countdown triggers, especially if you're too far away from the end of a level. We should probably show what happens when the launch countdown starts.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Take a look.
Getting perilously close to a failure there. The officer helped me out, though. Thanks, officer. But I'll take one for the team here. And
yeah, so now we've got the DEF CONs at 2 on both sides. But you can see here there's 3 officers in that level, so you would have a good opportunity to lower the DEF CON if you can play skillfully and get them to surrender. The other side only has 1, but there are more launch plans. But let's do that one, Grace, because we actually want to trigger the launch countdown.
All right, let's see what happens.
See a question here. Oh, there was already an answer. Multi-platformer or console exclusive. So yeah, the other game. So we didn't mention the fact that there is also a mobile version. That's going to be on Android and iOS, and that game is the same core gameplay. It's actually something that we're super excited about. You're playing as a trainee agent for Counter. And in that game, you're going into just socialist bases, but the same core gameplay is stealth, side-scrolling game, and it's a game that doesn't use virtual sticks. We have this really interesting gesture-based control that I think people will be really interested in checking out.
Won me over at no virtual sticks.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. I mean, I'm sure people talk about this ad nauseum, but when you're playing on an iPhone or any touch device, when you throw a virtual stick on there, you're basically reminding the player that they're not playing a console game. Like, just imagine if you were at home right now, or if you had a Vita, you could have the full benefits of playing with a control pad. And so we really wanted to approach it from the point of view of like, how would someone play a side-scrolling action game where touch was their only input?
Skrillback in the chat says, nice to see the devs are watching the chat for questions. I'm almost terrified that the devs are watching the chat for questions because you guys can be a real wild bunch. But you actually are pretty well behaved today, so I appreciate that. All right, so we're trying to raise that DEF CON level, right?
Yeah, trying to take some damage, Grace. Stop playing so well, Grace. What are you doing?
I can't help it. This is against all instincts here.
I think we might have to save you from yourself.
I am taking some damage, though. Let's head back up. Getting derailed here. Oh, here's a huge room. Some of these rooms are really, sort of multi-part areas, making it quite challenging. Typically, I'd enter and try to be as discreet as possible, trying to sneak around. But oh no!
Okay, we're at 1. Let's see if we can make it happen. Oh, do it!
It's just that one guy. There's still another.
There's plenty more.
Gonna have to do an intervention at this point.
Gamers Anonymous. Oh, there's some guys here. Uh-oh.
Oh, well, so he's on the radio.
Yeah, I'll let him chit-chat with his buddies.
We're engaging him now.
You can see here, the DEF CON is actually raising.
Oh, yeah.
The longer he's on the radio, right?
All right, take him out now. Okay.
Now, can I get to the exit in time? About to stop the launch.
So you can see there's an arrow helps guide your way, so if you're getting into a little bit of a panic about where to go, hopefully it'll help you make your way to the end. So normally when you're in these rooms, there's different areas you might want to explore in secret, but you just don't, at this time, don't really want to take the risk. You should just get to the exit.
Yeah, pretty heavily guarded.
We'll take that gun.
Oh! Rusty shotgun.
Mizzle1987 is asking, is this a downloadable or a retail game?
It is downloadable. Yep, it'll be on PSN, coming out in the summer. As soon as we finish this, we're going back to work to just make a few final tweaks and yeah.
You can see the clock's winding
you're
down.
I wasn't even paying attention. You're actually going to fail.
I'm actually going to fail this mission.
no.
Oh no!
Oh, goodbye, Moon.
Oh.
Goodbye, Moon. It was nice knowing you.
However,
You can continue.
there is a continue. You get another bite of the cherry. So, yep. So you've lost all the progress from that level, and now you have 2 new, fresh levels to choose from.
Okay.
So you do have a chance to get back in the game.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I still have all my gear, all my money.
And it's interesting. So originally, the original implementation of this, that would have been game over.
Oh, okay.
You have to start all the way from the beginning again.
Right, yeah.
Which seemed like a good idea at the time. But one of the things we do, the process of finaling the game, is once you've got the whole game there, we do a lot of play testing, where we get people in who've never played the game before, which is super important, because you can imagine, like, we know where all the nooks and crannies are. We've been playing this game for so long. We have, like, old eyes, like we cannot necessarily see stuff. And once we got people who'd never played the game before, playing the game, they'd be playing through, having fun. Ah, this is awesome. Countdown starts. Ah, no. And as soon as that game over came up and they had to start all over again, people were like super frustrated and mad at us, like literally mad at us for this. And so it is one of those things where you know, you kind of have to trust what people are telling you. The experience people have playing your game is very important. And so. You know, we had a version of this game last year that I look back at it now, I'm like, man, it was so early. You know, it's just really amazing to kind of see, like, I've been making games for a while, but it still amazes me to see how, as you're building this thing and all the different pieces are coming together, how things can just suddenly click into place and start working, and then you look back at older versions of the game and you're like, wow. So there's a question from M&M Stranger about what sort of playtime are we looking at. So if you're a skilled player, you could play through the game on the normal setting. You could potentially win in about 3 to 4 hours. After that, if you there's more advanced levels that you can unlock. And the key thing is that because the game plays procedurally, even if you're playing on the same difficulty, you're not going to go back and go, oh, here's the same game that I was playing from level 1. So we're hoping that that gives people a lot of replayability. There's also high score leaderboards where you're competing against your PSN friends for a high score. And something, we're actually not connected to PSN right now, but there's also a rival spy feature. Excuse me. And how the rival spy feature works is that as you're playing through the game, it'll pick a score that one of your friends got, and it'll ask you to beat it as a challenge. And if you can beat that player's score, then on the next level, there's a downed agent that you have to look for and find. And if you find that, then you get bonuses. Yeah, so we've got little things like that in there that we think people will get really into even when they finish the game.
Did you guys do procedurally generated levels because you wanted to add replayability, or was it for a different purpose?
Gosh, it was definitely an example of something that we felt would help replayability. So we're a small team. We have 12 people.
Okay.
But we're only 12 people now. Like when we started this game, we were 3 people, and then for a long time we were at 5. And what that meant was 1 level designer, 1 environment artist. And so it's kind of like, how are we going to build enough content, just physically build enough content in this game that people will be able to have fun? And procedural is something that really interested us. You had a lot of really awesome games like Spelunky that were out at that time. And so we wanted to think about how to incorporate that into this game. You know, I look at games now like No Man's Sky, which I know a lot of people were just blown away by at E3. And I can tell you, I mean, that's not just gamers, like everybody who makes games. People who are making games, everyone's talking about that. I think the procedural aspects of this game, I really like how it works in terms of you never know what you're going to get. You never know what enemies you're going to face, so you're not like, oh, I know the patterns, I know where everything is. I think it's a good sort of foundation block. With the way the levels get constructed together, you will learn the architecture of levels. So from the navigation of the levels, you can build up a familiarity with the levels. So in that respect, it's not, I tend to describe it as it has procedural systems. It's not a pure procedural the way I would describe a No Man's Sky. That does allow us a level of control as well, though, right? Like, it allows us to make sure that we've really crafted the spaces that the player's moving through. Oh, there's a secret there, Grace.
Oh, yeah, there's enemies here.
That man did not want you to find
I
a secret.
totally put you off your game.
Got her killed.
Yeah. I just wanted to show that as an example that there are lots of little nuggets around the world that will reward exploration.
You're back at DEF CON 1.
Oh yeah, you're super high, and you're almost dead. And so if you die, that countdown's going to start again. Oh, but there's an officer.
Who's there? Ready? Fire! Form up! Ready to engage!
Thought about surrendering, but no, he's got his... There we go.
Oh, no.
All right.
There he is.
Yay!
Can I surrender? Probably not. Can't have them keep blowing up the moon.
Hey, go in and show that secret area that I lovingly crafted. We'll give away this one, so remember this one.
Hey.
Hey, woohoo! Little secret area with a few more goodies down here, if you can take that guy out.
Just follow him.
That guy really thought that helmet would save him. But he was
Not
wrong.
with that move.
Not so much.
There's a formula that you can earn and buy that will allow you to headshot guys even when they have armor. You can basically armor pierce them, take them out.
Yeah, formulas definitely help out the more the difficulty increases. There's all sort of like knobs and dials and that, you know, kind of play with the underlying systems.
I always love that part of video games where you have to plant a breaching charge that sets off an explosive, but because you want the game to keep going, you just kind of lean out of the way slightly.
Right.
Even though there's an explosion going off.
Let me just flinch slightly here, and it's totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, he's wearing a tactical turtleneck. It's all right.
Oh yeah, he's all armored up.
I think you kind of get away with a lot more when you're kind of doing a very stylized game as well, right? Like, there's not that weird logic disconnect of like, wait, I look like a super realistic dude in a realistic world.
Yeah, I mean, the art style is obviously something that draws people in. We also like to have fun with our game. Like, You have all sorts of funny posters and backstory, unlockable stuff that you can uncover throughout the course of the game. And it's just, you know, we're trying to have fun. This is not a super serious war thriller.
Right.
It is, maybe it's to these guys. Maybe they find it very serious. But, I mean, we're all just having fun. This is our sort of lighthearted, absurd take on the Cold War, right?
Yeah, it was kind of cool. Wolfenstein is a game that I've been playing a lot recently. And I love that game. And it's interesting because there's like a lot that's absurd about it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's some pretty sort of heavy undertones in that game as well. And it's one of those things, like, I think that games can, at their core, be fun, not take themselves too seriously, but I think you can either say something about the world or have a point of view about things. You know, to me, that makes a game more interesting. Again, not being super preachy about it. Oh, that guy's on the radio.
That guy's on the radio.
Wolfenstein is interesting too, because it kind of gives you a glimpse at what would happen if the Cold War never happened. Germany won, and there was no U.S. versus the USSR.
Right.
Oh, I took him out. I was wrong.
Yeah, I think it's interesting.
Took me out.
Uh-oh.
No.
Countdown timer's on.
Oh, well, she's in the... should be okay.
Let's try and make it this time, shall we?
I got no pressure, but I think this is all we have time for on the stream. So if you don't make it to the end,
Have to do without the moon.
yeah, then we're gonna say goodbye to the moon. But I've got faith in you.
Oh, the music is something that we think is pretty awesome. It was composed by Jesse Harlan, who was someone that we'd worked with at LucasArts.
Oh,
so a bunch of us on the team worked at LucasArts. John and I, who set up the company, worked on the same team. And Jesse, who was the composer, so at LucasArts, he was pretty much like the John Williams guy. So he probably composed like more John Williams-esque music in his lifetime than John Williams did, just because the amount that you need for all the different video games over the years. So getting to work on something like this was a real change of pace and very refreshing. And it's one of the things that's been nice for us. You know, everyone was super sad when LucasArts closed down, but from that, you know, there was a lot of super talented, passionate people that all kind of spread out and want to do their own thing, and we're also still finding ways to work together.
Yeah, it looks like you guys are doing something really cool with CounterSpy, and I know this is a game that I'm excited for since I got to check it out before E3. But it's not that far off, right? You said it's coming out this summer?
Very close, summer. So when is the end of summer?
I would say end of August. Maybe mid-September.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's hope so.
All
I
right.
guess I should head back to the office and finish that then.
All right. There we go. No pressure. The clock is ticking. All right. Well, David, Grace, I appreciate you guys swinging by, showing us CounterSpy.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem. Thanks for having us.
Can you go ahead and remind everybody what platforms it's coming out for?
Yep. PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, PlayStation Vita, cross-buy. So buy for one, get it on all. Also has cross-save functionality, and there's going to be a mobile version that ties into those main console versions as well.
All right, sounds good. There you guys have it. That was your look at CounterSpy. Thanks a lot for watching.